A little bit more about rubber bullets and ballistics and the role that force plays in controlling a demonstration. I'm joined now by Cobus Steyl. He's a ballistics expert at Forensic Ballistic Services. And thank you very much for joining us. I wonder if you could talk to us first of all about rubber bullets. They sound innocuous, but they're actually extremely hard and can be potentially fatal. Tell us more about them.
Sally, yeah, thank you for having me. Firstly, we have to understand that the normal standard rubber bullet that we talk about is actually fired in a shotgun. So it's a shotgun round, which is, if I can put it in layman's terms, has been modified to contain two round rubber balls. Now, these two rubber balls is plus minus 17 millimeters in diameter. And once you discharge a shot, these two rubber balls will leave the barrel of the shotgun. Now, because it's two rubber balls within 1 to 2 meters, depends on the velocity, these two rubber balls will separate from each other. So when they leave the barrel, they'll in tandem, they're one behind the other. And once they reach around 1 to 2 meters, they separate from each other. Once they separate, that means now each of these two rubber balls will have its own weight, momentum, energy, and penetration capabilities. So if you've been shot, let's say at 5 and 6 meters, you'll have two rubber balls hitting you. And both of these two rubber balls will be still on a high velocity, but at least they will be separated.
All right.
Now, let's talk about, in general, what we talk about. In general, you should not fire at people within 20 meters. I mean, within 20 meters, actually, the standing orders further say that you should do skip firing. Now, skip firing is a term that's been used in the police for years, where you fire on the ground and you allow the rubber bullets to bounce off the ground and then into the crowd. And in that way, you can actually then get the crowd to disperse. So in skip firing, the crowd is plus minus 20 meters, and then you do skip firing. The problem occurs in rubber bullets is when you discharge a shot within 1 and 2 meters. At this distance, this rubber bullet still have the energy and velocity, especially if it's two balls together, will penetrate skin and obviously can cause your death. And most of the cases I examine is when that occurs, is when somebody gets shot at a close distance for whatever reason. I mean, it could be circumstantial distance reasons where somebody run in front of the firearm, what the reason ever be. If you get shot at and you're within 1 to 2 meters from the barrel of the shotgun with rubber bullets, the chance of penetration is quite good. Obviously, we have to take into consideration the clothing and if it's open skin and the location of the wound, the angle that the rubber bullets penetrate you. However, once we're dealing with this kind of rubber bullets in a close gunshot wound distance, it's devastating.
So what I'm hearing from you is that police, if they're going to use rubber bullets, and as we know from the standing orders, it has to be a case of extreme volatility when things are really going potentially very violent. They're supposed to be at least 20 meters away from any of the protesters or bystanders. They must actually fire towards the ground so it deflects off the ground. And if they get as close as 1 to 2 meters, it can absolutely be fatal because, as you're explaining, those rubber bullets come out two at a time. I know that you work very much with reconstructing what has happened through looking at video footage, you look at photographs, and I was wondering if you had a chance to closely examine some of the footage that has emerged from what we saw on Wednesday in Braamfontein. Now, our reporters telling us that rubber bullets and stun grenades, then rubber bullets, came very quickly. They didn't hear any warnings at all. And of course, the tragic loss of life. Have you been able to piece together anything from what you've seen of the footage on Wednesday, bearing in mind that, I'm sure you're cautious not to give any sort of set results?
Yeah, definitely. I think the caution rule is always applied in a sense, especially from a forensic perspective. We always want to examine crime or crime scenes with original photographs. So once we get proper detailed digital photographs, then we can obviously see what type of wound is it. And second hand with that, or go hand in hand with that, is the post-mortem report. Once we have the post-mortem report with the photographs and the video, then surely we can reconstruct it. I mean, once we see the wounds, we can easily do tests with a similar shotgun, with a similar ammunition, and determine exactly the distance shotgun was away when the shot was discharged. At this stage, I've looked at the video footage, but it's not at this stage too clear, and it's quite premature to actually make a kind of finding at this stage.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because we're all so upset by this. We want to jump to conclusions, and of course the family wants and deserves answers really quickly. But if we look at events from Marikana to Andries Tatana, even to Nathaniel Julies, it is, I think, a fair comment to say that police seem a little too ready to open fire. And I want to ask, do you believe that is true, potentially, that police are, is it because police are maybe not properly equipped in terms of training and equipment, or do you think it's more about an attitude of brutality?
You know, Sally, it's actually kind of a very good question. There's a few different questions entailed into that one question. However, and over the years I'm doing rubber bullet cases right through the country, and you name a few, but I was involved in other few of these cases down in Cape Town, where most of these instances you get a situation where the police are in a motion of executing their duties. And this system easily escalated, and then the shots get fired at closer distance. I know it sounds like an excuse, but this do happen. The problem is just where cases is being documented where they actually don't understand the implications of the power of the weapons they carry. If I can put it for you in simple layman's terms in a line that, you know, you're carrying a shotgun with rubber bullets. Just because it's rubber bullets, you start losing the value of understanding the penetration capabilities of this ammunition. Even if you've been taught, listen, this is dangerous, you've seen this dangerous, you've never been understanding what's the effect of this bullet at 1 and 2 meters. So suddenly you put in a situation where you have your shotgun, a situation unfold in front of you, and you use your shotgun, and only later you realize you have created somebody else, you killed somebody else in the process. You've been told don't shoot closer than 20 meters, but it doesn't bring it home until the day somebody gets killed and realize the effect of the shotguns. You know, in a lot of other cases, you shoot 10, 15, 20, and 30, 50 shots at a time during an operation. And all the people doesn't get killed in that operation. They have clothes on, and most of these rubber bullets actually don't penetrate the clothes, so they don't realize actually the effect of those rubber bullets. But once, over time, you get used to firing shots, you tend to get to the point where you're desensitized, and you will shoot at somebody closer than that, because previously I fired at 10 meters and there was no reaction from the people. Now I need to fire closer to get a reaction.
Right.
And it becomes natural that that distance of 20 meters become only a figure on the standing operator's procedure, and it doesn't get applied in the field anymore.
Thank you so much. Really important information that we all need to understand when looking at the issue of police and the employment of force. Cobus Steyl, thank you so much. He's a ballistics expert at Forensic Ballistic Services.